Hello and welcome you all to this session that is on designing accessible learning resources and a support for persons with disabilities. If you see the title of this session, it is though related or is a part of the course that is on learner support systems and services, one of the courses of Master of Arts in Distance Education. Still, we can say that it will be helpful for those who are teachers and the professionals who are involved in design and development of various learning resources for the educational purpose and the otherwise also. And in this way, this session will be very much helpful for those who are not only engaged in design and development of learning resources but also on the delivery side. And before moving into the aspects such as the objectives or the goal of this session, let me talk about some features about the open and distance education system itself so that we can have an idea about that. In open and distance education or in virtual mode of education system, we say that there is a distance between the learner and the teachers, because here in this mode, in open and distance learning mode or in virtual mode, the teachers are not with the learners, or they institutions mainly depend on the self-learning materials along with various kinds of media and technology and other learning resources. Here, the distance remains between the teacher and the learner. Similarly, the autonomous and self-directed learning, as such we can say, here as the learners are very heterogeneous and we expect them to be autonomous and self-directed, and it is said that in open distance and blended mode of education, the learners are adult learners and they do the self-directed learning or the kind of independent learning. The role of teacher is that of a facilitator, and we can say that the learners are supported by many different learning resources to enhance their learning as such. And the learning resources may be designed by keeping in mind the characteristics of distance learners or the learners for whom the programs or the courses are designed. As we say here, the learners may be of various types. They may be at various age groups. They may belong to the various abilities and disabilities. We can say, for instance, that there may be learners with visual impairment, there may be learners who have hard of hearing, there may be learners with some sort of locomotor disabilities, or there may be learners whose learning styles are also very much different. There may be learners who depend on the visual kind of learning, or they depend on the pictures, graphics, diagrams, charts and other things for their learning, and some may prefer some audio material to listen and they learn better. And similarly, there may be some learners who may like to touch or demonstrate certain things and learn better. In this way, we can say that the learners are also heterogeneous and the learning styles are also very heterogeneous. And now, as this session is on designing accessible learning resources, we can say that the objectives or the goal of this session is we can say to explain the meaning and the role of learning resources in open and distance education system, even to describe the characteristics or the features of learning resources, and similarly to identify the different types of learning resources, and also to explain the guidelines for designing these resources, how we can apply various mechanisms or how we can apply various means to design the accessible learning resources which can be accessed by all. As per NEP 2020, which is focusing on access, equity, and inclusion, and it is talking about reaching to all in terms of the education, and providing education to all is a prime goal of all educational institutions, starting from the school education till the higher education. And in open distance and blended learning mode of institutions, and as per the Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016 also, it is mandatory for all the educational institutions to provide all the learning resources and the information services in accessible formats, and in have to reach to all the aspirants, whoever would like to access the academic programs or the materials or the services that are being provided by the institutions. In this way, the goals or the objectives of this session we have kept in mind. Then, before moving ahead, we can try to understand the concept of learning resources. The concept, as such, we can say that the learning resources generally help the learners to navigate through their learning and help them to achieve their learning goals, or they help in learning and teaching also, because the resources or the self-learning materials or the manuals, handouts, program guides, project guides, whatever we call them, or they may be various types of learning resources, but those help the learners as not only to acquire knowledge and skills, but also to we can say that but also to organize their learning and process it also. Even the learning resources and educational aids, these things help in teacher directed and learner directed activities also. For example, we if we give an example of preparing an assignment response or preparing a question paper or providing a particular lecture or a lab activity or so on, then definitely it is related to the teaching learning process, and it helps both the teachers and the learners. And these resources can be in the form of printed self-learning materials or the audio video materials or modules or online materials and so on. These may be in various forms, but these are called the learning resources or learning materials as such. Then the need and significance of the learning resources, if we talk about, then the heterogeneous learner characteristics, as we have already discussed, that there may be the learners who are housewives, or there may be learners who are various unjob learners may be there may be learners with various physical abilities, there may be the learners who are very old and may not be able to access the small print materials in a small font size, or there may be learners who have different learning interests also. In this way, the heterogeneous characteristics matter a lot. Then the difference of attitude and ability to learn, that is also a matter of concern. Then different learning styles, as I have already discussed, and some learners may find it easy to read the text and learn better with the pictures and the charts, and some learners may learn better when they hear an audio version of the text or so on, and some others may prefer to touch that and demonstrate their experiences or skills also. In this way, we can say that the learning resources have to be designed in different ways to meet the different learning styles also. And if we see the characteristics of learning resources, then we can find that the universal design features of learning resources is much important. Okay, the universal design principles as such, when we say when we talk about the universal design, we can say that the design of the products or services that have to be made usable by all irrespective of their language, gender, ability, and all the differences whatever we can think about, but those things without the modification or adoption. If we have to customize the products or services, that are most welcome, but we have to follow certain principles by which we can make our products and services usable for all also. Let us discuss about the universal design principles as such. The first and foremost is the equitable use. When we talk about the equitable use, that is the first principle of universal design, which talks about that the services and products or the learning resources for the sake, we can say that those have to be made usable for all. We cannot deny or we cannot exclude a particular section or group of learners to access from accessing any kind of materials. Similarly, the flexibility in use. This is the second principle which talks about the flexibility of use. Here, the materials should be designed in such a way that those should be very flexible. If anybody would like to access those materials in electronic format or in printed format, in braille format, in audio text format, or in digital audio information system DAISY format, they should be given that much access, and there should be the flexibility of use also. Similarly, the simple and intuitive, the materials which the institutions or the education as a teachers, when we design, those should be made very simple and intuitive also. And why we are saying that? Because if we design them with complexity, there may be problem for the learners to access those materials. For example, if you are designing a material where you are putting x instead of a multiplication sign, then definitely the softwares, the screen reading softwares or other software that will read the x as x only, it won't read it as a multiplication symbol. For that sake, we have to think and take care of all these small things, but these things matter a lot while designing the learning materials. Similarly, the tolerance for error. The tolerance for error, yes, definitely, if any product or any service is being launched in the market for the use of the general mass, then the companies or the institutions, they keep certain space to correct for correction also. Similarly, the learning resources, when as teachers, as the service providers, if we are creating, if we are designing or developing any learning resources, before launching them or before making them or providing them for the use of learners, we should go for the pilot testing or the kind of developmental testing we can say. But after that also, there should be enough provision that if any complaints or if any suggestions or if any feedback comes from the learners, then there should be enough space, enough facilities to rectify those mistakes, and we have to make modification of the learning resources as per the need of the learners also. Similarly, low physical effort. The materials have to be designed in such a way that with minimal physical efforts, someone should be able to access them. For accessing the materials or for accessing the services, one is not expected to put maximum physical effort in that sense. Then size and space. This is also very useful when we say that size and space and approach of used as such. Because for example, if there are 5 members in a family and 3 are above are having an height of average, we can say that 5 feet or 5.5. Then if you are constructing a building, or if you are constructing some or making some modifications in your home, then you cannot put a door with a latch at the height of 7 feet or 8 feet, because that will not be reachable to them when they will try to use that. For that sake, the switches or the latches have to be put below maybe 5 to 6 feet, so that they can access also. Then these are the principles on which the learning resources have to be designed. Then the UDL principles, the universal design principles, or the curriculum has to be based on the multiple means of representation, then multiple ways of action and expression, and multiple ways of action and engagement. Why we are saying this is, in open distance learning or in virtual mode or in blended mode of education, we try to engage our learners in multiple ways. They may be they required to present, they may be required to write, they may be prepared to demonstrate, they may be required to do certain activities. Similarly, the learning resources also may be presented in the print format, may be presented in audio formats, may be presented in video formats, or the e-content, and those may be presented, or the audio video things can be either given as a complementary to the print materials, or they may be integrated with the print materials also. In this way, the multiple ways of action and expression and the multiple ways of action and engagement are also very much important in open and distance learning system. That's why the universal design principles have to be applied very strictly and very followed in a systematic way for the use of all learners, including the persons with disabilities also. Then we can talk about the features of learning resources. When we say the features, then definitely we are talking about the inclusivity, then the accessible resources, then affordability. This is again an important issue. Why? Because the learners have to be made in such a way that the resources can be at the reach of the learners, or those should be made affordable by the learners. Then handy and efficient, yes, that should be handy and efficient also, environment friendly, then reusable, then discipline approach, we can say that appropriate to the discipline, then aligned to the achievement of learning outcomes also. We cannot compromise with the goals or the aim that have been set by the program coordinators or the course coordinators in the beginning. And we always look for making our learning materials or learning resources always interactive, because in the educational materials, when we design the self-learning materials, we try to inbuild the teacher into the material, so that the learners will not get the feeling of isolation, or they will not feel the absence of teacher in front of them. And similarly, the assistive resources or the assistive technologies or special devices with which they can access the materials should also be ensured while designing the materials. Similarly, the types of learning resources, when we talk about, it may be the print-based materials, self-learning materials, handouts, then we can say the assignments, then we can talk about the multimedia, audio video resources, or visual resources, or web-based resources, online resources, and library, web portals, and we can say that e-repositories also, because we are moving and we are now following a blended approach for learning, in which we use not only the print based materials but also the online and web portals and web based materials also. In that sense, all the learning materials that may be given to the learners in the form of print or electronic or in the form of audio video and in whatever format they may be given, but those should be made accessible and those should be at the reach of all kind of learners. That particular accessibility feature has to be ensured by the teachers as well as the institutions. Then how we can promote the accessibility and how we can create or incorporate those accessibility features into the materials. The guidelines as such for designing the learning resources, if we talk about, then the planning and context, this is more important, because planning and context, when we talk about, after all, when we design a product or service, we do certain planning and the context also, for whom we are making and for how long those materials will be used and what will be the usability and what is the consequences of using those materials. All these things come into existence when we plan for something. Similarly, the target group also, the objectives, because as program developers or as course coordinators, we always set certain goals or objectives that we would like our learners to achieve. Then the content, what content should go and how the content can be placed and we, at what context and where the audio video materials have to be integrated or have to be complemented, those as teachers we are free to decide, but those things should be made accessible by following the universal design principles. Then selection of media, as I said, then the language, then the presentation style, the technical aspects, then the feedback, and we can say that updating the content also, and even at the last we have to think for the cost, because cost is also matters a lot. And in terms of affordability, when I was speaking, then we were referring to that only. Similarly, we can say that, and plagiarism and copyright issues also play a vital role for providing accessibility. That doesn't mean that we will copy some of the materials available in some of the web pages or some of the internet sources or from the some books or some materials and provide them as they are to the learners. We have to either modify, either customize, or take the permission of the original authors before using those materials, even educationally, for our learners. See, in this way, we can say that the learning materials mainly play a vital role, for which we have to adopt various methods or ways to make them accessible. Because universal design principles, when we talk about the increasing the accessibility, then definitely we have to be very careful from the very beginning itself. When we try to plan for developing a particular program or particular course, then we generally plan for developing and offering them either through print or through electronic format, or whether we should go for any audio or video programs or not, and who will opt this course, and how to reach them, and preparation of even assignments, handouts, and then if we at all are providing the charts and diagrams within the learning materials, then how those charts and diagrams should be even explained in terms of text below the diagrams and charts, so that the learners with visual impairment and the learners who cannot having learning disabilities will use those texts for their better understanding. Similarly, if you are preparing any video material, then you have to even think about adding the captioning facilities below the video at the bottom, so that the persons who are having hard of hearing or having any hearing problems, they can read the captioning which is going on at the bottom of the screen, so that they can know that what the characters on the video are speaking or talking to each other. Similarly, the accessibility features may be added to the learning resources in various ways. Instead of using the complex tables, jargons, how we can add some accessible features to these materials, and always it is preferable to use the Unicode font either in print or electronic format also. Similarly, we can say that the acronyms, then making the material or using italics, bolds, and other things more and more are not desirable. We should try to arrange the content, the content in a logical manner, and in a simple reading order should be followed to create the accessible materials, we can say. See, in this way, there are many guidelines for print and for creating the electronic learning resources also. Even on the websites and on the web pages also, there are World Wide Web Consortium accessibility guidelines, W3CAG guidelines are there, and even from all the governments also the things have been coming forward, that how to create the accessible guidelines. Then in the concluding say thing, we can say that this should be universally accessible and should be inclusive and affordable, and should also be handy, efficient, and environment friendly and reusable. And at the same time, the learning resources should be very interactive, then appropriate, and we can say that should properly aligned to achieve the learning outcomes. Similarly, various types of learning resources, if we recapitulate, then we can say that print, audio, video, visuals, then we can talk about the kinesthetic and web based, and even e-resources also we are referring. And if we try to recall the things which we have discussed about the guidelines for developing learning resources, then we can say that appropriate principles, that is on universal design principles, should be applied, and the content should be made accessible, the language has to be taken care of, the format, and other aspects to make the materials accessible not only for all. And one thing should be remembered here, that the materials which we are designing for the learners with disabilities, on the long run, the materials or the learning resources will be useful for all, including the learners who are having different learning styles and learning abilities. And hope this session would give you an beginning to develop and an interest to develop the accessible learning resources for the learners with various abilities and various learning styles. Thank you.
Do you know that the world's population has reached 8 billion on 15th November 2022? And we are still counting. I don't know where do we go from here. The predictions are scary. Any idea how many people can Mother Earth sustain? India's growing population is a serious concern, and we are soon going to become the world's most populous country. Wow, number one. Population is, after all, a human issue. The UN proposed Sustainable Development Goals cannot be achieved unless and until we consider the population dynamics. So, here we are. Indira Gandhi National Open University offers appreciation course on population and sustainable development. The course explores the linkages between population and sustainable development. In this course, there are diverse issues related to population, environmental safety, livelihoods, human health, migration, urbanization and much more. The course duration is 3 months, but of course you can complete it within a year. The eligibility of the course is graduation from a recognized university. So, if you are a development professional, working in a government sector, researcher or keen to know more about the population and sustainable development, the course is must for you. Hurry up and join this course so that we are able to convert population into demographic dividend.
Hello friends, welcome to this live teleconferencing session of Indira Gandhi National Open University. Today we are going to discuss one of the very pertinent topic, that is on identification of research areas for MA education dissertation work. Before starting our discussion, let me to introduce myself. I, Dr. Niradhar De, Associate Professor, School of Education. Welcome you all to this live teleconferencing session from my personal behalf and on behalf of my school, that is School of Education IGNOU. Friends, many a time being the coordinator of MA education program, I receive your phone call and I also receive many email. You are mentioning that you are completing all the theory courses, but in the second year of your program, when you are engaging yourself for doing the dissertation work, that is the course code is MESP001, course title is the dissertation. There, in that course particularly, you are facing certain difficulties to pursue this course, to do the piece of research and to do the project work. And mostly, many a time I also, went through your reports, project reports, dissertation reports, and when I go through the titles that you have selected, somehow I find that the title is many a time it is related to education, but in few cases it is hardly related to education. Okay, as you are the student of education discipline, so that's why the topic that you will select, the research problem that you will select for your dissertation work, more or less it should be related with the educational discourses, with the educational issues, with the problems that we face in the teaching learning process, in the curriculum and in other aspects of education. So friends, keeping in consideration of this type of difficulties that you are facing, that what type of research problem you supposed to select for doing your MA education dissertation work, particularly 2 sessions in this month that have been included. Today we are going to discuss identification of research area. What are the different research areas that you supposed to consider for selecting a problem for your dissertation work? And the second session that tomorrow we are going to, I'm going to take tomorrow, that is on 10th February, that is selection of a research problem. Okay, after identification of the area of your study, how you will select a research problem. So friends, now let us go forward to focus upon what are the different major discussion points of today's session, and then after we will proceed to understand that what are the different areas. First of all, in this session we will discuss what is the nature of problem for doing educational research. Then we will also discuss what are the different areas for conducting research in education. Then how to identify an area for a dissertation work in MA education program. Then how to select problem for dissertation work in MA education program. So the fourth discussion point that we will be discussing in the second session, but in the first session we will be addressing the first three discussion points. Now let us go forward to understand the very concept of what is the essence of research, why we do the research. You see, the essence of research, moreover, is to arrive at dependable solutions to the problem through a well thought out scientific procedure. Try to understand. Friends, when we conduct a study, a research, it may be for the academic purpose or it may be for any project related work, we select a problem. Okay. So what is a problem? A problem means we say that it is a problem. That means the solutions, we have not received the solutions of that problem yet. If we have received the solutions, if we get the solutions, then you can't say that this is a problem. Particularly in a research problem, many a time you will find that many researches have already been conducted. Still then, you are conducting a study taking the same problem, same area or same topic. Why it is so? If you will go through the review of related literature or the studies that have been already conducted in that area, and if you will go through the very findings of the studies that have been conducted earlier, and if you will analyze the findings, many a time you will find that so far as the unanimous point of result is concerned, you are not getting that unanimously. The researchers are coming to a particular point that this is the solid findings. So there is contradiction among the researchers so far as the research result and the research findings are concerned. So that's why when there is no unanimity and when there is no a concrete solution or a, you can say, a similar types of solutions for all types of research in the similar area or in the similar variable or in the similar types of topic, you can't say that the problem has been solved. Okay, so that's why there exists a problem. We do a research, we conduct a research to get the solution of that problem. And when we conduct the research, we use certain procedures. That procedures are called as the scientific procedure. Research is not a haphazard work. Rather, it is a systematic work, it is a scientific work. And in research, we follow certain steps. Okay, starting from identifying a research area, then selecting a research problem. Then further you have to proceed step by step in a very procedural way for conducting the study. And you have to, after identifying the research problem, then you have to identify the area, you have to delimit the area also, you have to make your study in a very researchable form. Then you have to collect data. For collecting the data, you need certain tools, you have to develop the tools. Then you have to, if it is related to, you can say, a school education system, or if it is related to students, or if it is related to teachers or the community members or the parents, then you have to select a sample from the population. Okay, so an adequate technique that you have to follow for selecting a sample. And on that sample, after getting the group of subjects or the sampling unit, by adopting a definite procedure or definite method, that's called as the sampling method. It may be in a probability sampling way, or it may be by using the non-probability sampling technique. So you have to administer or you have to use the research tools that you have prepared, or you have if you have selected, or you have if you have standardized it, that you have to administer upon the sample. Then after administering it, you have to analyze analyze the data by using certain statistical procedure. And if it is a qualitative study, then the qualitative data analysis techniques that you have to use. Then after analyzing and interpreting the data, you have to reach at the findings. Okay, so what I mean to say, the entire work of research is a systematic work, is a stepwise work. You cannot say that this is the problem and haphazardly you just prepare a tool and collect data and reach at the findings. It is not like that. Okay, so that's why the essence of research is to solve a problem by adopting certain sequential procedure, by adopting certain scientific procedure. And friends, if I will focus upon the very purpose that we follow, that a research problem solve. When we select a research problem, what it really does for the researcher. Okay, so just like here you see the purpose that does a research problem serve. First, the research problem aims at arriving at dependable solution to a problem. Then it makes useful generalizations and theory development. Then further it provides insight into the hypothesis formulation. Then it provides the direction for the choice of research design, and it helps in wiseful choice of statistical or other relevant methods of interpretation. So friends, when you are selecting a research problem for your research work, for your project work, for your academic research, and particularly if I will say relating to your master dissertation, selection of the research problem will serve many purposes. It will also solve many purposes. That will provide you a direction that what should be the objective of the study. That will also provide direction that what should be the research questions. That will also provide you certain insight, certain direction about that what should be the hypothesis, what should be the tentative solution of the research problem. As you are the researcher, you have involved in preparing the proposal, research proposal, and you have reviewed the related literature. So that's why you have, as a researcher, you have certain ideas that what should be the solution, tentative solution of the problem. That's called as the hypothesis. So friends, here when I say that you have selected a problem, that means a proper selection of a research problem will open many windows. That will open an windows about stating suitable research questions, suitable research objectives, research hypothesis, and that will also further help you that what type of tools you are supposed to use for collecting data. And after collecting data, how to analyze those data, what statistical techniques and what other qualitative methods or qualitative techniques that you are supposed to use for analyzing that data, those data, and how to you can say verify the hypothesis also. That is also another important concern. So friends, selecting a research problem is not an independent work. That is also related with researchers' experience and in-depth study or in-depth experience and in-depth involvement in understanding the variable, understanding the theoretical construct of the research. So these are the certain purposes that the research problem serve for the researcher. And further to focus upon what are the different sources for selecting a research problem. So to select a research problem or to identify a research area, that in which area you want to conduct your study. Many a time what I have observed that the research students, research scholars, they come to the supervisor, they come to the guide and they ask, you give me a topic and I will work on that topic. I think that this is not the right approach, okay? Because you are the researcher and the research problem should be yours, because you should feel that this is a problem. Being a scholar, being a student, being a disciplinary practitioner of education, you should have certain experience and you should have certain knowledge base and certain understanding about the nature of the problem that you have selected for your study. So that's why before selecting the research problem, you're supposed to go through certain sources. Okay, so what are the sources that will ultimately help you to select a problem? Because research problem is not a give and take system. Okay, rather it is a felt experience, you can say. It is a feeling experience that you have already felt that and you are deeply involved, deeply inclined that in this area you are going to conduct a study. So let me to focus upon some of the important sources, and I'm hopeful that it may helpful for you for selecting a good research problem for your MA education dissertation work. Just like the first important point is, the first source is the theory. What is the theory? So friends, when we select a problem, particularly in educational research, certain variables are integrated in the research problem. If I will say a title just like an investigation into the study habits of high achieving students. Okay, so what does it mean? What you have to investigate? What you have to study? You have to study study habits of high achieving students. Okay, so here you see I'm just using the term that is study habits. So study habits is a variable. So here, what is the theory, what is the principle, what is the theoretical construct of study habits? Without going through the literature, without going through the study, without going through the theory that is related to study habits, what is the meaning of study habits and what type of study habits are there, and how the students, what type of study habits students use or the learning style students use for preparing themselves for the examination or for the study also, regular study also. So it is somehow related with a theory. And if I will give the example of other variables, just like in education, what we do, we conduct study taking many variables, just like intelligence is a variable, self-concept is a variable, attitude is a variable, aptitude is a variable, creativity is a variable, motivation is a variable, and other types of variables are also there. And without knowing the very concept, very theoretical construct, very principle and the laws of those variables, you cannot select a problem and you cannot conduct a good study. So that's why, friend, when I'm saying that theory is a source for selecting a problem, that means as a researcher you have to go through the theory. If you have selected intelligence with aptitude in your study, you should know what is the very principle of aptitude, what is the very principle of intelligence, okay, and how aptitude works for the development of intelligence and how aptitude is related with intelligence. If you have taken two variables, so whether one variable is contributing or helping for the other variable, whether both the variables are positively related with each other. So from where you will get this knowledge? Unless you go through detail about the theoretical construct, you cannot understand the theory. And if you will not understand the theory, then you cannot conduct the study in a proper way. Okay, and you will not be able to explain, defend your research problem also. So friends, the first source is you should have an in-depth knowledge, in-depth you can say understanding about the theory of the variable that you have selected, that you have included in your research problem. And the second is that's called as the experiences of the researcher. So here, what do you mean by experiences of the researcher? I have already said that the research problem that you have selected, that problem is the researcher's problem. That problem is not the guide or the supervisor's problem. So that's why, friends, you should feel that this problem is an important problem, and that problem is having certain genuineness is there, certain contextual and certain current you can say present relevance is there in that problem. Okay, so that's why your own experience, as you have involved in the research work, you have gone through the process of theorization, you have understood how one variable is associated or linked with the other variable, and you have also visited the field. You have also come across different developments, and you have also interacted with the subjects, or with the population, with the sample. Okay, so that's why. And you have also gone through the review of related literature, okay, the studies that have been conducted earlier. So that's why you are the right person, and your own experiences will further help you to select a good problem. And friends, let me to say, in your immediate environment where you are living, if you are a teacher, or if you are studying, and if you are working somewhere, you must have engaged with in different types of issues. It may be related to students, it may be related to teachers, it may be related to school environment. So that are the evidence, or that are the situations that will help you to select a research problem, because those are the felt problem, you can say. So that's why researchers' own experience is also one of the very pertinent and important source for selecting a research area and selecting a research problem for conducting your study. Then next is called as the discussion. So what does it mean? What type of discussion that will help you for selecting a research problem? And that is also called as a source also. So friends, to whom you are discuss, particularly when you are conducting a study, when you are engaging yourself in doing research, you are discussing with your guide, you are discussing with your teachers, you are discussing with the population. If it is related to students, you are discussing, or you are interacting, you are developing a good rapport, and you are interacting with the students, you are interacting with the teachers who are taking classes every day in a face-to-face system of education. If it is related to science education, if it is related to mathematics education, what are the difficulties the teachers are facing to teach mathematics to the students at the elementary stage or at the secondary stage? So unless you discuss these issues, the particular issues with the teachers, you cannot reach at a point. So that's why when you discuss certain discuss with the researchers, with the peers, with the groups, with the teachers, with your guide, you will find many ways, you will find many tentative solutions also, and that will further help you that what should be the nature of the problem. Okay, so that's why overnight you cannot select a research problem. For selecting a research problem, you have to study the theory first, you have to develop a theorization, then further you have your own experiences, what your own experiences say, and further when you are discussing with others, what type of insight, what type of knowledge, what type of, you can say, informations that you are getting, and further that may help you for selecting your research problem. And the next important source, that's called as the dissatisfaction. What is dissatisfaction? You see, satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Satisfaction means that you can say satisfaction when your problem is solved, and you can say that you are not satisfied or dissatisfaction when the problem is not solved. So here in research, unless there is a research gap, unless there is a dissatisfaction among the findings of the studies that have been earlier conducted, that will not further help you to select a good problem. Okay, so that's why you have to find out, you have to examine, you have to understand, and you have to analyze what type of dissatisfactions are there so far as research result and findings are concerned. Then accordingly that will help you for framing a good problem, for selecting a good problem, and for stating a good problem. Okay, and the last one is called as the literature. Literature review, or the available literature, that will also equally help you for selecting a good problem. Okay, literature will help you that what has been already done, what are the different researches have already been conducted, and what are the things that have not been conducted. After all, when we conduct a study, our aim is to provide certain newness and provide certain you can say innovativeness to your problem. Every research problem is an innovative problem. Every research problem is a new problem. if you have properly select the problem. Okay, so that's why, friends, these are the certain important sources that can help you for selecting a good research problem. Now let me to focus upon, I have already explained detail points or detail in my discussion. I have included these points. A theory as a source, it explains the phenomena under research proposed. It permits the prediction of the occurrences of the phenomena. It enables the investigator to postulate and eventually to discover unknown and unobserved phenomena. It explains the relationship among various components, facts and principles. It pinpoints the crucial aspects to be investigated and crucial questions to be answered, and it helps the researcher to structure and restructure the domain of understanding. Okay, so when you will go through the theory, you will get enough knowledge, you will get enough experiences and enough information that will further help you for designing and stating a good research problem. Further, researchers' experience, I have already said that it helps the researchers develop insight into sharpening the focus area of research. It experiences the relative usefulness of various issues that emerge in his or her mind for research. It explores the context for innovative researches. It formulates the research problem more meaningfully and practically. It becomes a wiser researcher also. Then further, to focus upon discussion points. So friends, when you will engage yourself in discussing and knowing the hidden facts or the hidden you can say aspects of a problem, you cannot formulate a good research problem. So that's why always engage yourself in discussing about the research problem that you have thought of for selecting for your research. The literature, I have already said that you can use research journals, you can use PhD thesis, encyclopedia, web-based information. Nowadays, many data and information you can get from web-based information, that's called as the WBI, by using the internet. Then survey of research in education, theory which is developed. Then you can use the newspaper, government policy and different types of reports, report of committee and commissions, journal culture and our own experiences. So friends, these are the certain sources that you will be using for selecting your research problem. And finally, before concluding, let me to focus upon that what are the different areas that you will be considering for selecting a research problem for your study. And let me to focus upon suggested areas and aspects to select a research problem. The present, the contextual thing and the current development, that is different aspects on NEP 2020, National Education Policy 2020. It may be related to school education or higher education or pedagogy, technology, any aspects you can take, you can consider for selecting your research problem. Then courses studied in MA education program that you have studied in the first year and second year of your program. Then elective areas of interest from MA education program that is included in the second year of your program. Then prospective areas of education, it may be philosophical construct of education, psychological construct of education, technological construct of education, or perspective of education, or historical perspective of education, that will also help you for selecting a problem. Then pedagogy areas of education, how to teach science, how to teach mathematics, languages, social science and other subjects. Then internship and practical areas in education, different stages of education, it may be school or higher education, different modes of learning, that may be conventional, ODL, blended or online. So these are the certain areas you may consider for selecting your research problem. So friends, today, just to recapitulate, today we discuss the research areas, how you will identify a research area for selecting a suitable research problem for conducting your study, particularly for the dissertation course of your MA education program. We discussed different sources and also we discussed certain suggested areas, the relevant area, the present important areas. In the next session, we will be discussing how to select a research problem. Thank you.
Do you wish to be part of a television studio like this or any other media system? Or already part of any media system, want to enhance a new set of skills? Welcome to School of Journalism and New Media Studies. Here in the School of Journalism and New Media Studies, we are offering program for all set of people to learn and enhance their media skills. The vision of School of Journalism and New Media Studies is to generate a new set of professionals in the area of media and communication studies with understanding about role of media in the national development and global understanding. We offer innovative programs in the field of journalism and mass communication that sets a benchmark of high quality learning and teaching process at the national level. We offer these programs across the country with the help of our regional network as well as study center. Same manner, many of our programs are offered through online mode with a sophisticated learning management system. SOGNMS offers programs from PhD in journalism and mass communication till certificate level. We have masters in journalism and mass communication. The eligibility is bachelor's degree, and we are introducing this program in 3 languages: Hindi, Tamil and English. Students from national and international students can join either through online mode as well as in the distance mode. We have 4 postgraduate diploma programs, specialized areas in the field of development communication, digital media, electronic media and journalism and mass communication program. And all these 4 programs are available in distance mode. 2 programs are available in online mode, development communication and digital media. And we have specialized certificate program in community radio. IGNOU employs various media and communication tools for better teaching and learning process. School of Journalism and New Media Studies utilizes this media system for delivering all our programs. Come and join with us for exploring a new career and enhance your media skills.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Today we will be discussing about a very important topic titled Children in Need of Care and Protection and Children in Conflict with Law, Issues, Challenges and Constitutional Framework. This is an interesting topic because this has not been a priority for this topic is not a priority for many, and today we have with us an expert who has been in the activism for almost 20 years working for the rights of the children. And I would like to give a brief introduction about our today's expert, Mrs. Ritu Mehraji. And she is associated with working with child rights, child protection and care, and child rights protection and care, as well as working with children in need of protection for almost for more than a decade now, and she has been also instrumental as a master trainer, providing capacity building and training for many organizations, institutions, and different stakeholders. Her last stint was also her association with CWC and JJB. I think 2 terms in CWC and 1 term with JJB, and and she's more than anything else, she's also a very humble person, and today she's sharing this stage with us to share her experience, to discuss about all the issues related to the children, and we will be taking a different route of today's discussion by exploring into different cases of how the children, the kind of issues that the children face and the kind of challenges, and also what are the constitutional guarantees or framework within which these issues are being addressed. So these are some of the areas that we will be touching upon today, and I also wanted to share this information to our learners who are pursuing their master's degree in social work. So this particular theme is relevant because it is touched upon in the elective course on women and child development, that is MSWE 002, and this topic is also quite relevant for people who are working in the NGO sector, and also students who are pursuing their social work programs. So with this small introduction, I think without wasting much time, we should get into this topic. When we talk about this issue, what is the context that we are talking about? The context is basically when we talk about children, the best impression that comes to our mind is a child who is exploring this world with all kind of happiness, exploring the school, exploring the family, exploring the society. This is a kind of an utopian kind of a perception. But in reality, we cannot deny the fact that there are also children whose rights are abused, children who are working in vulnerable situations, children who are abandoned, children who are left to fend for themselves, children who are found in the street, who are unattended. So there are many such incidents are also is being it's reported. So given this kind of a duality, we would like to take this session in a manner where we will get into the case studies of some of these situations where our expert has personally addressed, or probably she has gone through these kind of situations, and she can be more she can throw a lot of light into these kind of situations and understand the issues, the challenges, and also the constitutional framework, how we are dealing with these kind of children. And also we will touch upon the institutional mechanisms to address these disparity, and how we can bring some kind of a balance in our society. So with this brief contextualization and context, I would open this to our expert to tell us about something more about who is a child.
So, child, during the trainings, when I ask the people who is a child, so different people have different perceptions. Child who is very at toddler age, who is going to school, who is playing, that a child. But what is the age of a child? So, as per the Juvenile Justice Act, as India is a signatory of UNCRC, the child is who the person of any gender who is from 0 to 18 years old is a child. If a person is 17 years, 11 months and 29 days old, then he or she is a child. And but we have different acts in our country like Right to Education Act, Child Labor Act, Child Marriage Act. In different acts, the age of the child has been defined differently. Like in Right to Education Act, the age is 6 to 14 only. But if we talk about the child labor, after the amendment, it is still 14 years. If we talk about the child marriage, for girl, the age is different, for boy, the age is different. But holistically, if we talk about the child, a person who is 0 to 18 years old is considered to be a child of any gender. As I have worked under the ambit of Juvenile Justice Act in different capacities, Juvenile Justice Act is meant to protect the rights of the children. The complete act is called Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act. This act talks about two types of children. One who is in need of care and protection, and the other is there are some difficult circumstances under which for the survival of the child, he or she commits some kind of crime for his or her survival, or he or she is in such situations where unknowingly some crime had occurred. So such kind of children are called child in need of care and protection. So there are two different bodies, constitutional bodies, quasi-judiciary bodies, who take care of these two types of children. The children who are in need of care and protection are being dealt by child welfare committees, and the children who are in conflict with law, means who has committed some crime due to different circumstantial situations, are dealt with Juvenile Justice Board. The matter of the children who had committed crime are not taken up in the regular courts because we need to protect a child. As per my understanding and experience, I have come across that once a child was in need of care and protection, he was neglected, then only he had committed a crime to survive himself or to save himself in any way. So, if we have given adequate care, protection to the child who was in need of a care and protection, then probably the chances would be very less that the child get into the trap of some unlawful activities. बहुत उसमें our society is also responsible because जिस तरह से अब हमारी न्यूक्लियर फैमिलीज़ बढ़ रही हैं, तो बच्चों का जो सिस्टम है, पहले सिस्टम में क्या होता था, बच्चा बहुत इजीली जो है, फैमिली बड़ी होती थी, माँ को पता ही नहीं चलता था कि बच्चा कहाँ बड़ा हो गया. कभी ना उसका हेल्थ पे कोई इम्पैक्ट आता था, ना उसका कोई एडुकेशन का कुछ ऐसा नेगेटिव था. लेकिन आज जैसे जैसे फैमिलीज़ न्यूक्लियर होती जा रही हैं एंड पेरेंट्स आर बिजी इन मेकिंग टू एंड्स मीट, सारा दिन वो लाइवलीहुड में ही भागते रहते हैं, उन्हें पता ही नहीं पीछे घर में क्या हो रहा है. ऐसे बहुत सारे केसेस आई हैड फेस्ड और बहुत ही वल्नरेबल सिचुएशंस थी जिसमें बच्चे या तो CNCP रहे, चाइल्ड इन नीड ऑफ केयर एंड प्रोटेक्शन बने, या फिर वो किसी तरह के क्राइम में चले गए. जैसे इफ़ आई शेयर वन ऑफ द केस, बच्चा द फैमिली हैज़ माइग्रेटेड फ्रॉम अदर स्टेट टू दिल्ली. अब क्योंकि बहुत सारे हमारे दिल्ली में लाइवलीहुड में के लिए लोग आते हैं, यहाँ अगर कोई किसी गांव से आ गया तो उसको पता चला कि यहाँ पे अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हैं, दे कॉल अदर रिलेटिव्स ऑल्सो. चाहे वो गांव का ही कोई हो, क्योंकि गांव में अभी भी ये परिपाटी है कि कोई सब चाचा है, कोई मामा है, कोई ताऊ है, बट हमारे शहरों में अब ये सारे अंकल बन के रह गए हैं, जो रियल रिलेशंस है वो भी अंकल हो गए हैं। तो जो चेक एंड बैलेंस हमारी सोसाइटी का है वो ख़त्म हो गया। एक बच्चा मिसिंग था, उसकी 2 दिन बाद पहले बहुत डिफ़िकल्टी होती थी FIR बच्चा मिसिंग होने को लॉन्च कराने में। तो somehow the FIR was lodged for that missing child. She was hardly 5 years old. और बच्चे का पुलिस ने सर्च किया, नहीं मिला। इट ऑलमोस्ट आफ्टर 6-7 days बच्चा रिकवर हुआ। बच्चा रिकवर कहाँ से हुआ? उसी प्रेमाइसेस में जहाँ वो लोग रहते थे, उसके बेसमेंट में बच्चे को बंद करके रखा था, एंड दैट चाइल्ड वाज सेक्सुअली अब्यूज्ड बाय द अब्यूज़र। तो हमारा कब बच्चा वहाँ से उठा के जो प्रिपेटर था वो कब बेसमेंट में ले गया, किसी ने नोटिस ही नहीं किया। तो हमारा जो आपस में जो रिलेशंस है, जो हमारी जो म्यूचुअल बॉन्डिंग थी या विजिलेंस सिस्टम जो हमारा था, वो आज कहीं ना कहीं मिसिंग हो गया, जिससे बच्चा CNCP भी हो रहा है और क्राइम में भी आ रहा है। तो ऐसे सिचुएशन में वी नीड टू बी वेरी विजिल इन द कम्युनिटीज़। जो हमारा पहले ICPS सिस्टम था, जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट को सपोर्ट करने के लिए, जो अब मिशन वात्सल्य में कन्वर्ट हो गया है, तो उसमें भी कम्युनिटी वॉच ग्रुप्स की बात की गई है, विलेज लेवल कमिटीज़ की बात की गई है, बट एग्जीक्यूशन इज़ अ बिग क्वेश्चन, जिसकी वजह से बच्चा एक स्टेट से दूसरे स्टेट में आ जाता है और पता ही नहीं चलता वो कहाँ मिसिंग हो गया, बिकॉज नोबडी इज़ मॉनिटरिंग देम। आज वो एक तरह से नीड ऑफ केयर एंड प्रोटेक्शन में है, क्योंकि फैमिली उसको ध्यान नहीं दे पा रही, या कोई फैमिली में और है नहीं उसको ऑल्टरनेट केयर देने के लिए, तो वो किसी ना किसी तरह से दूसरे स्टेट में आ गया, वहाँ अनअटेंडेड है। वहाँ अनअटेंडेड है तो किसी ऐसी ग्रुप के किसी ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल के कैप्चर में हो गया, जहाँ पे उससे इलीगल एक्टिविटीज़ करवाई जा रही हैं। तो कहीं ना कहीं वो CNCP बच्चा ड्यू टू हिज डिफ़िकल्ट सर्कमस्टांसेस और लैक ऑफ पेरेंटल केयर, आज एक बच्चा वो क्राइम में आ गया। तो किस तरह से हमने बहुत इस तरह के केसेस को हम लोगों ने डील किया जब मैं CWC में थी या जुवेनाइल जस्टिस बोर्ड में थी। तो हमारा जो इंटरनल मॉनिटरिंग सिस्टम फॉर द चिल्ड्रन है वो कहीं ना कहीं बहुत ज़्यादा लूज होता जा रहा है, दैट वी नीड टू मॉनिटर।
इससे मुझे एक रिलेटेड सवाल भी पूछना चाहता हूँ। देखिए, जब कोई भी चाइल्ड एज ए ले पर्सन व्हेन आई एम लुकिंग एट एक बच्चा अबैंडन है या स्ट्रीट में है, तो अगर हम इंटेंशनली भी कुछ करना चाहते हैं तो देयर इज़ अ काइंड ऑफ एन इनहिबिशन कि क्या मैं डायरेक्टली जाके उस बच्चे को इंटरवीन करके बात करना सही रहेगा, क्योंकि देयर इज़ ऑल्सो अ काइंड ऑफ एन एप्रीहेंशन दैट हाउ टू अप्रोच अ चाइल्ड। पता चला कि हमारा इंटेंशंस अच्छा है, बट दिस कैन बी मिसकंस्ट्रूड in a different way. So how do we kind of balance this? Kyunki we know that okay, we know if some child is abandoned or whom we see that वो बच्चा अकेले खड़े हैं एक कहीं पे रेड लाइट एरिया में या स्ट्रीट में या कहीं पे भी पार्क में पब्लिक प्लेस में, तो वी एटलीस्ट इतना सेंसिटाइजेशन है कि देयर इज़ अ हेल्पलाइन नंबर वेयर वी कैन इमीडिएटली कॉल एंड इन्फॉर्म द अथॉरिटीज़ दैट ओके दिस इज़ व्हाट इज़ इट। बट उससे ज़्यादा अगर हम पर्सनली जाके कुछ इंटरवेंशन करने में देयर इज़ अ काइंड ऑफ अ हेसिटेशन स्टिल। तो इसको हाउ डू वी फ्रॉम योर एक्सपीरियंस एंड जो इंस्टीट्यूशनल फ्रेमवर्क के ज़रिए इसको कैसे हम एड्रेस कर सकते हैं?
एब्सोल्युटली ये बहुत ग्रेव मैटर है, बिकॉज हाउ टू इंटरवीन इन अदर्स मैटर, दिस इज़ अ वेरी चैलेंजिंग टास्क. I share my personal experience with you in one of the instances. I was going through on the road. तो वहाँ पे I saw कि one lady was in a wheelchair और उसके पास एक बच्चा था, शी वॉज हार्डली 2 years or 2.5 years old. तो and the child was continuously crying. तो I was observing that child from a distance. मैं उसके पास गई, बट इट इज़ रियली वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट कि किस तरह से उसकी माई है या जो भी है तो उसको मना कर दे कि क्यों आई हो. तो आई kept on observing that child. I waited for around 10 to 15 minutes कि वो बच्चा इतना रो रहा है, जो साथ में उसको accompany कर रही हैं तो उसको उठा ले. She was there but in a unconscious state. अब मुझे था शायद सो ना रही हूँ, लेकिन बच्चे की जो रो रहा था दैट वाज वेरी वल्नरेबल. उसके बाद आई ऑब्जर्व फॉर 10-15 minutes. देन ओनली आई कॉल्ड द चाइल्ड हेल्पलाइन नंबर, क्योंकि मैंने आई नो द प्रोसेस. आई वेटेड देयर फॉर सम टाइम एंड कंसेक्यूटिवली आई फॉलोड, क्योंकि चाइल्ड लाइन का जो है वो पहले सेंट्रल बॉम्बे में कॉल जाता है, फिर उसके बाद जो रिस्पेक्टिव स्टेट है, फिर डिस्ट्रिक्ट है, ऐसे ट्रांसफ़र होता है. तो दे आस्क ऑल द लोकेशन, सम लैंडमार्क्स, तो सब कुछ दिया एंड आई केप्ट वेटिंग. क्योंकि मुझे काम किया है, सिस्टम को जानती हूँ, तो मैंने आई डायरेक्टली कॉल दैट डिस्ट्रिक्ट चाइल्ड लाइन नंबर.
ये व्यूअर्स के लिए भी आप बता दीजिए कि वो चाइल्ड लाइन नंबर
है 1098 एंड साइमल्टेनियसली यू कैन कॉल 112. पुलिस जो है, पुलिस ऑल्सो कम टू रेस्क्यू सच चिल्ड्रन. तो आई कॉल्ड अप 1098. उसके बाद डायरेक्टली आई कॉल द कोऑर्डिनेटर ऑफ दैट डिस्ट्रिक्ट कि इस तरह से आई हैव कम अक्रॉस अ चाइल्ड, और मुझे लग रहा है कि या तो ये बच्चा कहीं से उठा के लाई हैं और या ये एडिक्टेड है. जिस कंडीशन में वो देख पा रही थी मैं उस लेडी को, तो शी वॉज इन एडिक्शन ऑल्सो. तो ग्रेजुअली द पीपल कम फ्रॉम द चाइल्ड लाइन, पुलिस आई और उस बच्चे को वहाँ से रेस्क्यू करके एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो चाइल्ड केयर इंस्टीट्यूशन है वहाँ पे एडमिट कराया गया. और पता चला कि माँ जो है, माँ नहीं है वो, मोस्ट लाइकली उसने कहीं से बच्चा उठाया है, क्योंकि द लेडी सीम टू बी अबव 50 years और वो बच्चा बहुत छोटा था, 2.5 years का. तो ऐसा लग रहा था कहीं से उठा के ना लाई हो या क्या केस है. पर यहाँ पे हो सकता है उसका अपना भी बच्चा है, लेकिन इफ़ द मदर इज़ एन एडिक्शन, तो वो पेरेंट्स एक इनकैपेसिटेटेड पेरेंट है. और वो बच्चा एक तरह से CNCP है, अगर उसकी वो माँ भी है तब भी, क्योंकि माँ उसकी देखभाल नहीं कर पा रही. तो ऐसा कोई भी बच्चा जिसके पेरेंट्स, हो सकता है कोई ऐसी क्रॉनिक इलनेस है जिस वजह से बच्चा इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है, या फिर बच्चा इतना बीमार है कि माँ बाप इनकैपेसिटेटेड हैं उसको ध्यान रखने के. हो सकता है इफ़ ईदर ऑफ द पेरेंट डाइड, तो द अदर पेरेंट इज़ नॉट एबल टू टेक केयर ऑफ. तो उन सारी कंडीशन में द चाइल्ड इज़ इन नीड ऑफ केयर एंड प्रोटेक्शन. ऐसी सारी सिचुएशंस में, जैसे अभी कोविड का बहुत सारा हम लोगों ने देखा, कोविड में बहुत सारे बच्चे ऑर्फन हुए हैं, जो बच्चे अब CWC के पास हैं, चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी उन्हें किसी ना किसी चाइल्ड केयर इंस्टीट्यूशंस में रख रही है और उनका डेवलपमेंट एंड प्रोटेक्शन पे काम कर रही है. तो ऐसी सिचुएशन में CWC ही उस बच्चे का गार्जियन है और उस बच्चे का पूरा देखभाल करेंगे, जब तक कि ये ना इंश्योर कर लें कि उसकी मदर जो एडिक्शन में थी, शी इज़ नाउ कैपेसिटेटेड, शी इज़ एबल टू टेक केयर ऑफ दैट चाइल्ड. तो ऐसे उसमें हमें वी नीड टू फॉलो अप विद द फैमिली. अगर क्योंकि अभी ये रिसेंट केस है, हो सकता है माँ इम्प्रूव कर गई हो, तो ऐसी सिचुएशन में द CWC is duty bound to get the social investigation report done, क्योंकि सोशल इन्वेस्टिगेशन में ये पता चलता है कि बच्चे का आसपास का सोशल मतलब सोसाइटी में जाके उसके बच्चे के बारे में पता करना कि बच्चा किस तरह से वहाँ रहता है, उसका पेरेंटल स्टेटस क्या है, और अगर उसको बच्चे को रिस्टोर करना है, बिकॉज अगर हम देखें जे एक्ट भी कहता है और हमारा लाइव एक्सपीरियंस भी यही है कि फैमिली इज़ द बेस्ट रिसोर्ट फॉर द डेवलपमेंट, होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट ऑफ ए चाइल्ड। क्योंकि जिस तरह से माँ बाप एक केयर कर सकते हैं वो चाइल्ड केयर इंस्टीट्यूशंस में नहीं हो सकती। माँ बाप के पास 2 बच्चे हैं, 3 बच्चे हैं, लेकिन चाइल्ड केयर इंस्टीट्यूशन में 15 बच्चे हैं, 50 बच्चे हैं। तो उस तरह से वो एक मैकेनिकल सपोर्ट तो है, बच्चे को पढ़ाते भी हैं, हर चीज़ है, लेकिन जितना अपने माँ बाप के साथ अपनी फैमिली के अंदर बच्चा नर्चर करता है उतना CCIs में नहीं करता है। तो जब हम लोग जब CWC बच्चे को रिस्टोर करती है तो उससे पहले हमें तो CWC को एक SIR, जो आपके CWC के पास जो पूरा स्टाफ स्ट्रक्चर है, डिस्ट्रिक्ट चाइल्ड प्रोटेक्शन यूनिट है, उसकी हेल्प के थ्रू, या जो उनके पास वेलफेयर ऑफिसर्स हैं या काउंसलर्स हैं, उनके थ्रू एक SIR, एक्सटेंसिव SIR ज़रूर करवा लेनी चाहिए, सोशल इन्वेस्टिगेशन रिपोर्ट। बेस्ड ऑन दैट रिपोर्ट CWC need to take the action कि whether the family is appropriate to take care of the child custody or she needs more time or the child needs to be kept in the institution for more time.
Before we get into the details and of some additional cases, ये SIR की बात आपने काफ़ी एम्फेसिस किया है। ये सोशल इन्वेस्टिगेशन रिपोर्ट, who does this social investigation report, how it is done, और ये क्या superficial level पे होता है या काफ़ी in depth पे करना होता है, and how and what kind of an implication it has at the later stage of the case when you are say providing rehabilitation and follow up once the issues of the children are addressed. तो इसके बारे में भी थोड़ा सा हमें फोकस करना चाहिए।
सोशल इन्वेस्टिगेशन रिपोर्ट जो है वो एक बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट इंक्वायरी प्रोसेस टाइप्स है दैट इज़ बीइंग डन बाय द सपोर्ट स्टाफ विच इज़ गिवन टू द चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी। उसमें डिस्ट्रिक्ट चाइल्ड प्रोटेक्शन यूनिट है, उसमें आपके पास वहाँ का स्टाफ अवेलेबल है, या फिर आपके CWC में ही वेलफेयर ऑफिसर्स अपॉइंटेड हैं, या फिर जो जिस इंस्टीट्यूशन में बच्चा रखा है, जो भी चाइल्ड केयर इंस्टीट्यूशंस में बच्चा है, वहाँ पर वेलफेयर ऑफिसर्स हैं, चाइल्ड वेलफेयर ऑफिसर्स। तो उनके थ्रू SIR एक्सटेंसिव लेवल पे करवाई जाए। एक्सटेंसिव इन सेंस सोशल, मतलब अभी मतलब जो मेरा एक्सपीरियंस, पास्ट एक्सपीरियंस है, उसमें ये है कि बच्चे के घर पे जाके ही पता कराए कि किस रिलीजन का है, क्या पेरेंट्स करते हैं, फैमिली में कौन है, भाई बहन क्या करते हैं। वो तो इम्पॉर्टेंट है ही फैमिली के बारे में जानना, बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट इट इज़ वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट टू नो अबाउट द एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ दैट फैमिली इन दैट सोसाइटी। हो सकता है वो लोग अभी 15 दिन पहले ही यहाँ पे आए हों, हो सकता है कुछ इस तरह की वहाँ पे एक्टिविटीज़ हुई हैं जिसकी वजह से आसपास के लोगों को कुछ इश्यूज़ हुए हों। अब वहाँ पे हो सकता है वो बच्चों को अपने इस तरह से कहीं ले जाके कुछ गलत काम करवाते हों। तो सोसाइटी आज के टाइम में, जैसे मैंने अभी बोला कि सोसाइटी बहुत जल्दी आगे नहीं आती है, लेकिन ऑब्जर्वेंट है, वो इतना बता सकती है, बिकॉज हाउ यू इनिशिएट योर प्रोसेस दैट मैटर्स अ लॉट। आप किस तरह से बात करते हैं, आप कहें कि कोर्ट से आए हैं तो वो डर के वैसे ही नहीं बोलेंगे। आप ये बोलेंगे कि बच्चा अगर इनका खो गया था, हम लोग ढूंढ के यहाँ पर है, तो हम जानना चाहते हैं बच्चे को किस तरह से रखते हैं, बच्चे स्कूल जाते हैं, बच्चे आपके बच्चों के साथ खेलते हैं, तो वो सब चीज़ें हमारे लिए बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट हैं। उससे ओवरऑल पर्सपेक्टिव पता चलता है कि उस फैमिली का सोसाइटी के साथ कितना इंटीग्रेशन है, वहाँ पे उनका क्या से है, किस तरह से वो लोगों के साथ बिहेव करते हैं।
Okay. So I think before we move on to furthermore on different other cases like एक CNCP and CCL, that is child in conflict with law, ऐसे दोनों केस से जूझे हुए कुछ केस स्टडीज भी हम लेंगे, बट बिफोर दैट आई थिंक वील टेक अ स्मॉल ब्रेक एंड वील कम बैक अगेन। या
Are you a fresh graduate? Do you want to fulfill your educational aspiration by pursuing higher education in various interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary areas like environmental science, environment and occupational health, philosophy, sustainability science, folklore and culture studies? If yes, the School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies offers various programs like Master's Program, Graduate Program, Postgraduate Diploma, Certificate and Appreciation Program. The school offers 5 Master's Program. Master of Science, Environmental Science. The eligibility criteria for MSc Environmental Science is Graduate in Science, BTech, BE, Agriculture Graduate, Forestry Graduate and Veterinary Graduate. School also offers Masters in Environment and Occupational Health, Masters in Sustainability Science, Masters in Philosophy and Masters in Folklore and Culture Studies. The eligibility criteria for these 4 Masters program is graduate in any discipline. The school also offers various socially relevant and need-based PG Diploma program like PG Diploma in Sustainability Science,
Namaskar. So, we were discussing about the SIR report, how it is to be done, and what are the procedures involved, and how in depth one has to go for an SIR report, and how this report will further help in concluding the case. So, this was very well explained by the expert. And now let us move on to another case where both CNCP and CCL process are involved. Could you please explain, ma'am? Yeah.
As I told you earlier, that the child at one point of time was CNCP, then only due to adverse circumstances the child falls into this criminal activity. बहुत मतलब अगर जैसे आजकल सोशल मीडिया इज़ वेरी पॉपुलर और हर बच्चे के हाथ में मोबाइल है, तो अभी वी हैव कम अक्रॉस कि 2 बच्चे किसी और स्टेट में रहते थे, बोथ वर माइनर, दे फेल इनटू लव, और बिकॉज ऑफ द फैमिली प्रेशर या फैमिली फियर दे मूव अवे फ्रॉम दैट स्टेट एंड केम टू अदर स्टेट. तो अब वहाँ से दोनों बच्चों की मिसिंग एफआईआर हुई क्योंकि दोनों सीएनसीपी है. अब किसने, अब ये तो अभी दिस इज़ नॉट क्लियर कि हु हैज़ आस्क्ड टू मूव ऑन. तो जब बच्चे हमारे पास आए तो पता चला कि द गर्ल वॉज अब्यूज्ड बाय ऑटो ड्राइवर्स, क्योंकि दूसरे स्टेट से जब दिल्ली में आए, दिल्ली में आके बिकॉज बिल्कुल अननोन प्लेस है, तो वहाँ पे किसी से कि मुझे कोई धर्मशाला बता दो या कोई स्टे के लिए कोई जगह बता दो, तो जो प्रिपेटर्स होते हैं वो उनको पूरी अच्छे से पता होता है कि कौन सा किसको ट्रैप कर सकते हैं. तो ऑटो ड्राइवर वहाँ पे स्टेशंस पे बहुत खड़े रहते हैं, तो ऑटो ड्राइवर ने कहा चलो हम ले चलते हैं. तो 2-3 ऑटो ड्राइवर साथ चले गए, तो बच्ची के साथ अब्यूज़ हुआ. 2-3 लोगों ने किया मल्टीपल टाइम्स. फिर ग्रेजुअली जो है वो किसी तरह से वो भाग के वहाँ से पुलिस स्टेशन किसी तरह से पहुँच पाए वो दोनों बच्चे, और दोनों रजिस्टर हुआ केस उसका। अब जो दोनों CNCP थे अपने स्टेट में जहाँ पे मिसिंग की FIR थी, जब बच्ची का मेडिकल हुआ, बच्ची के साथ बात की गई, वेलफेयर ऑफिसर काउंसलर ने बात करी, उसका जब मजिस्ट्रेट के सामने CRPC में 164 का स्टेटमेंट हुआ तो सारा उसने बताया कि मैं इस लड़के को पसंद करती हूँ, मेरी शादी हो रही थी, वहाँ से हम दोनों भाग के यहाँ आए, इस लड़के ने मेरे साथ सेक्सुअल अब्यूज़ किया, फिर ऑटो ड्राइवर्स ने किया। तो अब वो जो बच्चा CNCP था, ऑल्दो दे वर इनटू रिलेशनशिप, अगर हम बहुत सारे एक्ट्स हैं, जैसे अगर JJ एक्ट की बात करें या पॉक्सो एक्ट की बात करें, पॉक्सो एक्ट जो प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ चिल्ड्रन अगेंस्ट सेक्सुअल ऑफेंसेस है, क्योंकि दोनों माइनर हैं। अब इसमें दोनों पहले CNCP थे, चाइल्ड इन नीड ऑफ केयर एंड प्रोटेक्शन थे, कि घर से किसी तरह से अलग हो गए, और अब जो है लड़की तो अभी भी नीड ऑफ केयर एंड प्रोटेक्शन में है, लेकिन लड़का जो है वो क्राइम में आ गया बिकॉज ही हैज़ सेक्सुअली अब्यूज दैट गर्ल।
ओके।
तो अब वहाँ पे जो है चीज़ें बिल्कुल अलग हो गई। वैसे ही जो गर्ल्स और बॉयज़ CCI है, चाइल्ड केयर इंस्टीट्यूशंस है, वो सेपरेट है।
करेक्ट।
0 to 6 में जो बच्चे अडॉप्शन में जा सकते हैं उनके लिए कॉमन है, लेकिन अबव 6 years ऑफ एज गर्ल्स और बॉयज़ को सेग्रीगेट कर दिया जाता है। तो वैसे भी वो लोग दोनों अलग अलग CCIs में थे, लेकिन द मोमेंट इट केम इनटू नोटिस कि उस लड़के ने भी अब्यूज़ किया, तो वो बच्चा चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी के एम्बिट से उठ के जुवेनाइल जस्टिस बोर्ड में आ गया। तो वहाँ पे उसका अब ड्यूल स्टेटस है। या फिर कोई ऐसा बच्चा है जो बच्चा किसी तरह से पहले CNCP था, मदर फादर नहीं है उसके, चाचा चाची या किसी के पास कैसे पल रहा था, तो ग्रेजुअली क्योंकि अनअटेंडेड बच्चा है और उसको पता नहीं है क्या सही है क्या गलत है, वो कहीं ना कहीं कुछ गलत हाथों में पड़ जाता है और वो क्राइम करने लगता है। तो वो कहीं ना कहीं पहले CNCP था, क्रिमिनल बना, हो सकता है क्राइम कुछ ऐसी एक्टिविटीज़ उसने, क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटीज़ चाहे चोरी है। तो अब जो पेटी ऑफेंसेस है हमारे एक्ट पे, जो जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट है, उसमें ऑफेंसेस को 3 कैटेगरीज में डिवाइड किया गया है। एक पेटी ऑफेंसेस जिसमें जो पनिशमेंट है इट इज़ 0 to 3 years। फिर उसके बाद हमारे सीरियस ऑफेंसेस हैं जिसमें 0 to 7 years है, 3 to 7 years है, और एक हीनियस ऑफेंसेस है जिसमें 7 years बियॉन्ड है। जैसे हमारा मर्डर हो गया, डिकॉइटी हो गई, या फिर रेप हो गया, तो वो हीनियस में आते हैं। अब कोई बच्चा है जिसने हो सकता है अपने सर्वाइवल के लिए कोई ब्रेड चुरा ली या कुछ इस तरह से, जैसे आपने स्लम डॉग मिलियनेयर में देखा कि अपना सर्वाइवल के लिए किस तरह से उन्होंने शुरू किया और कहाँ पहुँचे। तो जब बच्चा अगर पेटी ऑफेंस कर रहा है तो एक्ट बहुत अच्छा कहता है, इसमें रिफॉर्मेशन, हमारा एक्ट जो है वो रिफॉर्मेटरी एक्ट है कि बच्चे की काउंसलिंग कराई जाए, बच्चे को अपॉर्चुनिटी दी जाए, क्योंकि हमें हमेशा उसके डेप्थ में जाना है कि बच्चे ने क्राइम किया क्यों, वो एडवर्स सिचुएशन क्या थी, तो हम उस चीज़ को हम रिफॉर्मेशन करें बजाय कि हम ये कहें कि किसी तरह से उसको स्टिग्मेटाइज करने के। तो वहाँ पे हमें बहुत अच्छे से, जैसे जुवेनाइल जस्टिस बोर्ड है उसमें जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है उसमें एक प्रिंसिपल मैजिस्ट्रेट है जो MM कैटेगरी के हैं, मेट्रोपॉलिटन मैजिस्ट्रेट, और 2 उसमें सोशल बैकग्राउंड के मेंबर्स होते हैं जिससे ये बोर्ड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन होता है। तो क्योंकि जजेस का पर्सपेक्टिव लीगल बहुत है, तो बच्चे को अलग कोर्ट इसीलिए बनाया गया है कि बच्चे को सोशल एंगल से भी देखा जाए कि सोसाइटी के क्या एस्पेक्ट थे जो वो कुछ गलत करने के लिए उसको मजबूर होना पड़ा। क्योंकि कोई भी बच्चा, उसे ये नहीं पता कि सही क्या है गलत क्या है। जब गलत हो जाता है तो उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस जब बच्चा फेस कर रहा है तो वहाँ पे जाके पता चलता है कि ये क्राइम था, ये गलत किया, तो उसको पनिशमेंट मिलता है।
Absolutely.
भले ही जैसे बच्चों की अगर आपस में लड़ाई हो रही है तो एक बच्चे ने ज़्यादा हिट कर दिया तो अब वो बच्चा गलत उसमें आ गया, लेकिन क्योंकि हमारा एक्ट रिफॉर्मेटरी है तो वी नीड टू काउंसिल कि हमें क्या चीज़ें हमारी डूज एंड डोंट्स। बहुत हद तक हम ये देख रहे हैं आजकल क्या चल रहा है कि बच्चों को राइट्स के बारे में बहुत अवेयर कर रहे हैं कि मेरा ये राइट है, बच्चों का ये राइट है, ये राइट। लेकिन राइट के पैरेलल हमें ड्यूटीज़ बताना बहुत ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि जब तक राइट और ड्यूटीज़ बैलेंस नहीं किए जाएंगे तो कहीं ना कहीं सिस्टम हमारा कोलैप्स हो सकता है।
या दिस इज़ अ वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट आपने बताया। बेसिकली हमारे आजकल के बच्चे दे आर वेरी अवेयर अबाउट द राइट्स, और इसके रिलेटेड भी बहुत सारा केसेस आपके नज़र में आए होंगे। जैसे अगर ऐसा कुछ इंस्टेंसेस है तो आप शेयर कर सकते हैं।
अब हम कोई भी वर्कशॉप होती है, क्योंकि मैं विमेन ग्रुप के साथ भी बहुत सारी वर्कशॉप्स करती हूँ, बच्चों के साथ भी करती हूँ, तो क्योंकि हमें राइट्स के बारे में उन्हें बताना है कि आपके राइट्स है, क्योंकि अगर पर्सन राइट्स के बारे में जानेगा तो वो अपने लिए खड़ा हो सकता है, उसे कोई और एक्सटर्नल पर्सन नहीं चाहिए। तो इसी तरह से बच्चों को पता है कि हमारा अगर कहीं भी राइट वायलेट होता है तो देयर इज़ पुलिस, देयर इज़ चाइल्ड लाइन। तो बहुत तब मैंने CWC ज्वाइन किया था, तो एक बहुत अच्छे फैमिली की, फादर इंजीनियर थे, मदर प्रोफेसर थी। तो एक बच्ची का केस आया, उसने चाइल्ड हेल्पलाइन पे फ़ोन किया था कि मेरे पेरेंट्स जो है वो मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा हरास करते हैं, मुझे कमरे में बंद करके रखते हैं। अब क्योंकि ये कंप्लेंट आएगी तो चाइल्ड लाइन तो बिल्कुल जाना लाजमी है कि किस तरह से प्रॉब्लम है, क्या है। तो बच्चा प्रोड्यूस किया गया, पेरेंट्स को भी। प्रिंसिपल ऑफ नेचुरल जस्टिस की हमारे कानून ने बहुत अच्छा इसमें है कि हमें दोनों पार्टीज़ को सुनना है, चाहे वो कोई भी है, बच्चा है और पेरेंट्स है। हो सकता है अगर पेरेंट्स रिस्ट्रिक्शन कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि पेरेंट्स को पता है कि बच्चे के लिए कहीं ना कहीं डू एंड डोंट्स दोनों अलग है। तो जब बच्चे से बात करी तो बच्चे ने बताया कि शी वांटेड टू गो फॉर पार्टी विद हर फ्रेंड्स एट नाइट एट ऑड आवर्स आफ्टर 9। और पेरेंट्स बोलते हैं कि लड़की है, आप समझते हैं कि किस तरह से बाहर बच्चों का एक्सप्लॉयटेशन है, तो हम इसको मना करते हैं, हम इसको जाने से रोकते हैं। तो इसने जो है, बिकॉज शी हैज़ एक्सेस टू मोबाइल, इसका पर्सनल मोबाइल है, इसने 1098। अब हमारी गलती बताइए कि क्या है। अब बच्ची को राइट्स तो बहुत पता है, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं ड्यूटीज़ उसको नहीं पता कि मुझे कहीं किस समय बाहर जाना है, किन लोगों से मिलना है, बाहर क्या है। तो राइट्स में हमें लॉज भी बताने, और किस तरह से बाहर, किस तरह से हम बच्चों का एक्सप्लॉयटेशन हो सकता है, दैट वी नीड टू एक्सप्लेन। क्योंकि जब हम राइट्स बताएंगे तो बच्चा सिर्फ राइट्स में जाएगा, अपनी ड्यूटीज़ को कहीं ना कहीं छोड़ देगा। उसकी ड्यूटीज़ है भाई कि उसको पढ़ना भी है। शी वॉज इन 9th क्लास दैट टाइम, और पढ़ाई बिल्कुल नहीं करती थी, उसका हाफ ईयरली था, उस पर काफ़ी परसेंटेज कम थी। पेरेंट्स वर रियली वरिड, दे लिटरली क्राइड बिफोर अस कि बताइए। तो ऐसे उसमें अब हम ना तो बच्चे को माँ बाप से अलग कर सकते हैं, ना माँ बाप को कोई पेनलाइज, बिकॉज अगर माँ बाप एक्सप्लॉइट कर रहे हैं, पिटाई कर रहे हैं, तो हमें उसके लिए एक्शन लेना भी ज़रूरी है। बच्चे को हम CCIs में रख देते, लेकिन वहाँ पे हमने उस बच्चे की कंटिन्यूअस काउंसलिंग करी। पेरेंट्स को भी कहा कि थोड़ा माइल्ड चीज़ बताइए उसको आप, क्योंकि आजकल रीजनिंग वर्ड है, तो बच्चे को बताना ज़रूरी है कि मना क्यों कर रहे हैं। पहले जब हम मतलब हमारे घरों में जब शादी की बात होती थी तो लड़की के सामने नहीं करनी, या बच्चे को अब 6 बजे के बाद तुमको बाहर नहीं जाना, क्यों नहीं जाना, उसके हमें रीज़न देने की ज़रूरत है कि क्या क्या आपके साथ कुछ गलत कैसे हो सकता है, क्यों हम कुछ ना कुछ बाउंड्रीज सेट कर रहे हैं। तो बाउंड्रीज की रीजनिंग देनी ज़रूरी है। ऐसे ही एक हमारे पास केस आया, अब हम कहते हैं फैमिली इज़ द बेस्ट इंस्टीट्यूशन फॉर द होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट ऑफ ए चाइल्ड। एक फादर आया, उसने बोला कि मेरी वाइफ जो है वो बच्चों को अपने पास रखती है और मुझसे मिलने नहीं देती, उनका कुछ मैरिटल डिस्प्यूट था। तो हमने कहा मदर के पास है तो हम तो नहीं, और ना CWC के पास कोई ऐसी पावर है जो कस्टडी मदर से लेके फादर को दे दे, तो हम नहीं कर सकते। तो बिकॉज वी नीड टू हियर द पर्सन ऑल्सो। तो उसने बताया कि मेरी वाइफ जो है वो थोड़ा सा मेंटली सिक है, उसको इश्यूज है। शी वॉज ऑन मेडिकेशन बट शी हैज़ लेफ्ट मेडिकेशन एंड now she is under severe depression. Due to this she doesn't allow her children to go to school, और उसने बच्चों को बंद करके रखा है। मैं कई बार शाम को रोज़ जाता हूँ तो इवन टू द एक्सटेंट मुझे घर की लाइट ऑन नहीं दिखती है। अब ऐसी सिचुएशन में, क्योंकि मदर से ज़्यादा तो कोई अच्छा हो ही नहीं सकता, तो उसने कहा आप एक बार विजिट करवा लीजिए, कम से कम आप, हमने कहा जब माँ के पास है तो हम केस नहीं लेंगे, माँ से बेस्ट तो हो सकता है आपके साथ इशू हो। तो ही इंसिस्टेड, तो हम लोगों ने उसके लिए एक्शन लिया, पुलिस को बोला, चाइल्ड लाइन को बोला और अपना वेलफेयर ऑफिसर्स को भेजा। तो जब हमने वहाँ से बच्चे रिकवर किए, दे वर रियली इन बैड स्टेट, स्किन इन्फेक्शन हो गया था उनको, लड़के के उसका हेयर कटिंग नहीं करवाती थी वो, घर में सारी तरफ कूड़ा था, मतलब फोर्सफुली वो दरवाज़ा तोड़ के वो बच्चों को रिकवर करवाया गया। माँ का ट्रीटमेंट के लिए हमने उसको हॉस्पिटलाइज किया और आफ्टर 3-4 मंथ्स शी रिकवर्ड और फिर फैमिली री इंटीग्रेशन हुआ। तो हमें मतलब ईच चाइल्ड केस इज़ अ यूनिक केस। तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें, अब चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी इज़ अ bench of magistrate constituting with the person of 5 person, with the capacity of 5 person। वो सब अलग अलग कैपेसिटी के हैं, कोई काउंसलिंग में एक्सपर्ट है, किसी का हेल्थ का बैकग्राउंड है, किसी का लीगल बैकग्राउंड है, बिकॉज ये हॉलिस्टिक, उससे जो है हम एक अच्छा डिसीजन लेकर बच्चे का वेलफेयर, बच्चे का, क्योंकि वेलफेयर कमेटी है तो वेलफेयर किस तरह से हॉलिस्टिक देखा जाए, तो वो सब चीज़ें बहुत हम लोगों को भी बहुत स्ट्रगल करना पड़ता है कि हम बेस्ट किस तरह से बच्चे को दे पाए।
So with this kind of case studies, couple of things are coming out very clearly. The first and foremost is parenting पे एक जोर आ गया है कि when we talk about rights and duties, it also becomes immense importance that हमें अपने बच्चों को दोनों पार पक्ष के बिना एक बैलेंस्ड वे में उनको सिखाना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि बाय द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ सोशल मीडिया एंड ऑल्सो देर आर सो मेनी इन्फ्लुएंसेस दीज डेज इन सोशल मीडिया ऑल्सो हु टॉक अबाउट अगर आपको कुछ ऐसे हो गया तो यू कैन इमीडिएटली कॉल एंड रजिस्टर योर कंप्लेंट्स एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट. So it looks to some extent very funny, but this can lead to serious complications also. Similarly, another issue which has been flagged is also ये कोई particular social strata या वर्ग के लोगों के बच्चों का ही affect होता है ऐसा कोई नहीं है. So there is also cutting across all the sections of the society, class, so any families where these kind of children, where they get into these kind of troubles, we can see. So this is what emerges, as you are saying, from these case studies.
Absolutely, क्योंकि मतलब जो इश्यूज हैं वो बच्चे के इश्यूज हैं, किसी क्लास के इश्यूज नहीं है. अगर आप वो हिट एंड रन का जो केस देखते हैं मर्सिडीज वाला, वो बच्चा ही है. बच्चे को इतनी लिबर्टी दी गई कि वो मर्सिडीज लेके गया और इस तरह से हुआ, फिर उसका जो जेजेबी ने उसको अडल्ट डिक्लेयर कर दिया, फिर हाई कोर्ट से वापस आया कि वो बच्चा ही है. तो बहुत सारे ऐसा नहीं कह सकते कि स्ट्रेटा से आप किसी चीज़ को डिफाइन करेंगे, आप बच्चे के उससे करेंगे. बच्चा, अब ऐसा नहीं है कि अगर मैं आज बहुत, सपोज ऑल्दो आई एम नॉट, कि मैं बहुत हाई क्लास में हूँ तो मैंने कभी कुछ गलत नहीं किया या मेरे साथ गलत नहीं हुआ. बच्चे के साथ गलत होता है या बच्चा गलत करता है, वो स्ट्रेटा से नहीं है, क्योंकि उसको अभी सही गलत में फ़र्क नहीं पता शायद. कहीं ना कहीं वो निगलेक्टेड है किसी तरह से, या उसे पेरेंटल अटेंशन, कई बार बच्चे इस तरह से कर देते हैं कि आपस में बहन भाई लड़ाई हो रही है तो ज़ोर से मार दिया, जस्ट टू सीक द अटेंशन. तो जो पेरेंटिंग है, इट्स अ वेरी चैलेंजिंग टास्क नाउअडेज. हमारे टाइम का नहीं है कि 2 थप्पड़ मारे और बिठा दिया. आजकल बच्चा रीजनिंग वर्ड का है. अगर हम किसी चीज़ को हम मना करते हैं तो वो हर समय उसका रीज़न चाहता है. अगर हम उसको एडिक्वेट, उसकी सेटिस्फैक्शन के लेवल का रीजनिंग नहीं देंगे तो उसकी जो एग्जाइटी है वो लेवल बढ़ा ही रहेगा, वो किसी ना किसी तरह से एक्सप्लोर करेगा.
Exactly.
अब जैसे अगर हम सेक्सुअल एक्सप्लोरेशन की बात करें, आजकल बच्चों में बहुत है. तो मैं कई जगह ये हम लोग डिस्कशन बहुत हो रहा है कि अब सेक्स एजुकेशन हमें स्कूल लेवल से ही बच्चों को स्टार्ट करनी ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि हमें अच्छा और बुरा नहीं पता, एक्सप्लोर कर रहे हैं बच्चे। एक्सप्लोर की वजह से कोई CNCP बन रहा है और कोई CCL बन रहा है, तो हमें अपनी बाउंड्री सेट कर रहा है। ये सब चीज़ें बच्चों को अब इनिशियल स्टेज से ही सिखानी ज़रूरी है। गुड और बैड का डिफ्रेंसिएशन हम टच से नहीं, और बियॉन्ड दिस थिंग्स वी नीड टू एक्सप्लेन द चाइल्ड कि कहाँ से उस लोगों को बाउंड्री सेट करनी है और क्या चीज़ें एक्सेप्टेबल है, क्या उसकी ड्यूटीज़ है। तो जब तक हमें बच्चे को, आज क्या है, इतनी भागती दौड़ती ज़िंदगी में बच्चे को गैजेट के पास छोड़ देते हैं हम, कि बच्चा सेल्फ इंडिपेंडेंट हो रहा है, वो उस गैजेट पे क्या कर रहा है। अब कोविड के ड्यूरेशन में कितनी कंप्लेंट्स लोगों ने करी कि ऑनलाइन बच्चा पढ़ता कम है और गेम्स ज़्यादा खेल रहा है या कुछ साइट्स खोल रहा है। तो पेरेंट्स को मॉनिटरिंग करना ज़रूरी है, लेकिन बच्चे को अंडरस्टैंडिंग देना कि क्यों ये चीज़ें सही नहीं है, वो रीज़न देना, वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप कराना बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है। तभी बच्चा इन चीज़ों से शायद बच सकता है। पहले की तरह नहीं है कि बस उसको मना कर दिया वो चुप करके बैठ जाएगा। अब तो नहीं कि मना किया है तो इसमें कुछ और है जो मुझे एक्सप्लोर करना है, तो वो एक्सप्लोरिंग किसी भी उसमें हो, वो एक्सप्लोर करने की सिचुएशन में कहाँ से कहाँ पहुँच जाता है वो समझ नहीं आ रहा।
Well said, Ritu ji. Actually, now we'll move on to the last part of this discussion, because we we have touched upon two to three different cases, and her case is quite unique and different. And now relating it with our curriculum, our subject matter, where our students are pursuing this program, that is Masters in Social Work program, उनके लिए how important is this area of अध्ययन करने में या field work करने में, and how serious they have to be and how intuitive they should be to really pick the right kind of challenges. And there are so many things, and at some point of time, once they are qualified, they also get into the system, that is the institutional mechanism system, where they become a social worker or a welfare officer, and they also try and work in this framework. So what kind of roles, what kind of qualities, attitudes, perceptions, the aspiration that the social work trainees or the professionals who have qualified, they should have, उसके बारे में भी थोड़ा सा बात कर सकते हैं।
ये बहुत सेंसिटिव चीज़ है। जब हम सोशल वर्क में आते हैं तो एक पैशन से आए, और मैं नहीं कहती कि मैंने बहुत बच्चों की लाइफ में चेंज लाई हूँ, लेकिन अगर 4 बच्चों की भी लाई हूँ लाइफ में चेंज तो मुझे सेटिस्फैक्शन है। तो वर्क विद अ पैशन, हैव एम्पैथी और डेप्थ पे जाना बहुत ज़रूरी है। सोशल वर्क एक कोई वाइट कॉलर जॉब नहीं है कि हम AC रूम में बैठ के कर लें। जब तक आप डेप्थ में जाके चीज़ों को नहीं समझेंगे, ग्राउंड में जाके ग्राउंड रियलिटी से वाकिफ नहीं होंगे, तब तक शायद आप अपने काम को जस्टिफाई नहीं कर सकते। सिर्फ पेपर वर्क कर देना, क्योंकि क्या है कि असाइनमेंट, मैं आज यहाँ आ रही थी तो देखा बाहर लिखा है कि असाइनमेंट आप ले सकते हैं, तो वो रेडीमेड वर्क नहीं है ये। अगर आपको पैशन है, अगर आप रियली यू वांट टू ब्रिंग चेंज इन समवन्स लाइफ, तो इस काम में इतना सेटिस्फैक्शन है, आई हैव नो वर्ड्स टू एक्सप्लेन। क्योंकि जब एक की ज़िंदगी बदल रही होती है तो उसके साथ आपका रिफॉर्मेशन भी होता है, आप भी ग्रो करते हो उसके साथ। मेरे पास बहुत सारे इंसिस्ट के केसेस आए, इंसिस्ट में जिसमें ब्लड रिलेटेड पर्सन ही बच्ची के साथ अब्यूज़ करता है। तो एक केस में ऑल्दो सबके साथ ही मैंने बहुत इन्वॉल्व हुई, एक के साथ बहुत ज़्यादा इन्वॉल्व हो गई। उस बच्ची के बहुत सारे बहन भाई थे और मदर बिल्कुल अनएडुकेटेड थी, फादर वॉज द ओनली ब्रेड अर्नर। जब बच्ची के साथ अब्यूज़ हो रहा था तो माँ को उसने बताया, तो माँ ने कुछ भी नहीं किया। व्हेन फादर स्टार्टिंग अब्यूजिंग द यंगर वन, तो फिर बड़ी लड़की ने उसके लिए कंप्लेंट करी एंड फादर वाज बिहाइंड द बार्स। अब उसके छोटे बहन भाई क्या करें, तो जब केस प्रोड्यूस हुआ तो दैट टाइम द गर्ल वाज इन 10th क्लास और उसके पास किताबें भी नहीं थी, सिर्फ फरवरी का मंथ था एंड शी डिडंट हैव बुक्स. आई कैसे क्लिक हुआ उसके साथ. आई कंटिन्यूसली वर्कड विद दैट गर्ल. काउंसलर्स भेजना, फॉलो बहुत ज़रूरी है इसमें. ये नहीं कि बच्चा रिस्टोर हो गया और ख़त्म काम. तो फॉलो अप जब तक हम लोग करते रहें तो बच्चे को भी एक एसोसिएशन रहता है. उस बच्ची को 12th परस्यू कराया, 10th पहले कराया, फिर 12th कराया. आज बच्ची एक बहुत अच्छी जगह पर, उसको ग्रेजुएशन कराया, उसने नर्सिंग का कोर्स किया, बहुत अच्छी जगह पर जॉब कर रही है और उसके भाई बहन भी बहुत अच्छा फ्लरिश कर रहे हैं. तो मुझे लगता है कि मैंने शायद पता नहीं कितने हज़ारों बच्चों के साथ डील किया. ये बच्ची मेरी सक्सेस स्टोरी नहीं है, ये बच्ची की उसकी खुद की सक्सेस है कि जो वो डिज़र्व करती थी शायद उसको रास्ता दिखा दिया. तो बस एक केस में ही बदलाव ले आओ, लेकिन पैशन से करो और काम और मजबूरी और पैसे से मत इवेलुएट करना अपने वर्क को कभी भी. ये बस मेरे यही है. मैंने हमेशा इसे पैशन से ही अपना जॉब, जो भी मैं रेगुलर जॉब कर रही थी वो छोड़ के मैं सोशल वर्क में आई, क्योंकि एक शुरू से ही पैशन था कि कुछ करना है, कुछ करना है. तो शायद एवरीबडी हैज़ अ डेस्टिनी, तो मेरी डेस्टिनी थी तो आई एम हेयर ओनली. तो किसी की ज़िंदगी में बदलाव ला पाओ तो उससे बड़ा सुकून कोई नहीं.
Very well said, Rituji. I was, before coming to this program, I was also looking at one of the quotes that UNICEF has, in a video, it was saying, how do we address this issue? The best thing is we have to all come together to address this kind of a serious issue. And it should become a priority. And we have to talk about this. हम इसको कब तक छुपाएंगे और या हाउ मतलब इसको हम एड्रेस ही नहीं करेंगे तो दिस विल नेवर बी एड्रेस्ड एट ऑल. सो इट वाज अ वेरी गुड साइन एंड इट आल्सो कोइंसाइड्स. हमने ऑलमोस्ट we try to do justice by covering certain critical aspects and what kind of role a social worker can play and how he or she can contribute if they are committed, they are passionate about working with this particular for this cause. And not only the students who are pursuing master's degree, but we as an educational institution, we should also think about pursuing higher degree programs like research programs. इसमें बहुत सारा अध्ययन होना चाहिए. और जैसे आपने सही बताया कि एक लड़की का ज़िंदगी उसके अटेंशन देने से और उसको फॉलोअप, कंटिन्यूस फॉलोअप करने से बदल सकता है. तो दैट रिफॉर्मेशन हैपन्स ड्यू टू इट्स कांस्टेंट follow-up and rehabilitation. So this is an area which further needs to be explored through research, and institutions like us is the right place, and one should also work on these kind of serious issues. So in conclusion, I would rather say that we have to join hands to address this issue, and this is like this effort cannot be successful only with one stakeholders, because there are multiple stakeholders involved in it.
Absolutely.
Government of India, the ministry, DCPCR, NCPCR, everyone, they are putting their efforts, and we hope that we have a better society which is more empathetic and compassionate towards children and to safeguard their rights and protection. So with this, we would like to conclude for today's session, and we would also like to come up with more interesting sessions in future. And if there is any kind of a grievances or query or any suggestions to this program, we would be very happy to receive them, and you can write to us. Our contact details and our email IDs are available in the IGNOU website, and this can help us to improve this program much in a better way. Thank you.